Hello everyone, welcome back to rFactor 2, and if you thought Suzuka was slippery last time out, you ain't seen nothing yet. It's not raining now and the sun is out, but the Loch Drummond track is incredibly wet after a heavy downpour during an extremely challenging qualifying session. I didn't cope well at all in the wet, and I've qualified down in 23rd position. I'm in the top split again, and if conditions weren't difficult enough already, I'm going to be racing without any traction control. The buttons I mapped just didn't end up working in this race, so the name of the game here is survival. This one is going to be tough. Well, I thought I saw more than one car rolling forward there before the lights went green, so we could get some stop-go penalties dished out here, but for now we've got to cope with the lack of visibility. Just look at this spray as we hurtle down the straight. I cannot see a thing approaching T1. This is going to make the first corner incredibly challenging. We've lost two cars to the right. It looked like Eduardo Espanyol, who started alongside me on the grid. He got collected with Victor Lareda. We take another little nudge from Stanley De Bruyne as well on the inside. De Bruyne lost all his grip exiting that turn and slid right into us. Thankfully we stayed on track, but conditions so tricky here. I mean, it was slippery at Suzuka last time out, but nowhere near as wet as this. The yellows are out again. We've lost two more cars in this turn. That's Berto Criscentianto and Gustavo Sadler who've spun out. And incredibly, despite all the carnage on track, we've only actually picked up one position. We're in 22nd. No, make that 23rd, because Eduardo Espanyol has recovered from that off track at T1. He's tucked it up the inside to take that 22nd position. So we're down to 23rd, which is exactly where we started on the grid. That just shows how cautiously I've been taking it through this opening lap. And as I work my way out to the final corner to start lap 2, there's a half-second gap that's opened up to Espanyol and De Bruyne in front, so hopefully that might improve my visibility just a little bit. If I can stay out of the spray of these two cars, I might get a slightly better view into T1. Oh, look at De Bruyne making a move up the inside of Espanyol. There was big contact there. I thought they were both gone. I reacted accordingly and moved out a little bit wider to try and avoid it, but unfortunately that has let Victor Lareda sneak through. He's not just got past me, he's got past De Bruyne as well. So although we've lost a position to Lareda on track, we're still in 23rd. I suspect there was someone in the pit serving a stop-go penalty. We're going to gain two more positions here though. Two more drivers have spun out of that left-hander. We're up to 21st. Well, that certainly was a wet and wild first couple of laps. Let's check out some of the highlights, starting with us losing Victor Lareda and Eduardo Espanyol in turn 1. And then a couple of corners later, look for the contact between Kasper Koritz in the black car and Ben Geider in the blue and white. They both spin out. They take another car with them, and that gives us a couple more positions back. The same corner a lap later, watch Eke Tom Pat get it all wrong on the inside. He absolutely torpedoes Ruslan Kowaluk, and they both crash out too, riding on board with Pat now. You can see the moment he gets on the grass, it's all over. He can't stop that, and he careers into Kowaluk. There's dust in the air, there's spray in the air. It is absolute carnage here at Loch Drummond as we approach the end of lap 2. We're in 21st position, but we're going to gain a spot here because that's Ben Geider on the left. Now, Geider was involved in one of those first lap incidents, so maybe he's picked up some damage. He's certainly down on speed there. Meanwhile, in front, look at Stanley De Bruyne. Is going to try and dive up the inside of Michael Hingle into turn 1. That didn't work out. We just about managed to avoid them. There's a bit of contact. There was another car on the infield and another one on the grass to the left. Now we're making progress. We're up to 15th. Yeah, we're seeing so many failed overtake attempts up the inside into T1. This was Stanley De Bruyne clattering into Michael Hingle. Now that gave us two positions, but if you think that was bad, watch Eduardo Espanyol. He misses his braking point completely, so he's going to take to the grass and try and rejoin down the track, but he's going to do it right in front of a Sat Nasma. Meanwhile, the turn 1 torpedoes continued. This happened right behind me. That's Essier Andres taking out both Berto Criscentianto and Ben Geider. I was probably just millimetres from getting collected in that, so I was really fortunate there. Another driver who managed to avoid it was Michael Schimmer in the orange, but his luck ran out a corner later. He just drifts out wide and runs into a Sat Nasma. Well, by the end of the third lap, it felt like the track was starting to dry out. There was a little bit more grip to be found. However, drivers were still losing it. The yellow flags are out again. That's Christopher Albrecht, who spun just before the final turn. So that's going to promote us up to 14th position as we start lap 4. Well, but make that 13th position because Victor Lareda's just gone into the pits, so maybe he's got a stop-go penalty to serve as well. Yeah, there may be a dry line starting to appear, but it's still very slippery out there as Christopher Albrecht found out. He lost it on the penultimate turn, and that's him out of 14th. Well, I'm beginning to grow in confidence as this track dries out, but I certainly don't want to push my luck. I'm in a comfortable 13th position, and it's going to get better. The yellow flags are out. That's Roslan Kowaluk, who's lost it in front. I'm able just to get around the outside of him as he rejoins, so that promotes me up to 12th. Yeah, Kowaluk just ran it in a little bit too hot into this off-camber left-hander. It actually looks like he saved it there, but it just sent him out onto the grass. And once he's out onto the grass, that sends him into a full-blown spin. He manages to rejoin fairly quickly, but we're just able to nip around the outside. You can see a visible dry line appearing on the track now, but I still don't want to push it too hard. A lot of drivers still having trouble. Alessio Spinelli in front is just the latest to lose it. We creep by, and that puts us up to 11th. And yeah, much like Kowaluk a lap ago, it's only a half spin that costs Spinelli here. He just about saves it, but it directs him onto the grass, and once you hit that green stuff, it's game over. I was lucky here. I managed to sneak by up the inside, but the two drivers behind, Kowaluk and Hingle, both had to run wide. That's given me a few tenths advantage. We're going to skip forward a few laps now, and in that time I've gained another position. I'm now in the top 10 thanks to yet another driver entering the pits, and it could get even better because we are closing right in on Dan Brandholm in 9th here. Now Brandholm must have some sort of problem. He's one of the fastest drivers on track. He qualified second on the grid, but we have rapidly closed in on him here, and I'm looking to find a way through. Now Michael Hingle behind is closing right in now, so Brandholm is holding me up a little bit here. I've built up a 1 second advantage over Hingle, but that's been wiped out now. We're right on Brandholm's tail as we come through the penultimate turn. Now as we start lap 9, this is where things start to get really messy. Remember Ruslan Kowaluk from a few laps ago? Well, he had to go into the pits. When he came out of the pits, he was in 19th, and he's now behind myself and Hingle. Look at him in the rearview mirror. He's trying to unlap himself, and he's going to go for it up the inside, but he is going to completely T-bone Dan Brandholm out of 9th position. So yeah, quite why Kowaluk is in such a hurry to unlap himself and take drivers out of the top 10 as he does it is beyond me, but we had to back off there to avoid any contact ourselves. That's invited Hingle to challenge. Hingle having a look up the inside. I'm offline, so I'm going to have to let him go, and then I'm going to get done by another crazy backmarker lunge. Look at Berto Criscitianto dive up the inside to try and unlap himself. Somehow he kept it on the track. He's still on the inside of me, so I've got to let him go. The last thing I want to do is get tangled up with a backmarker, but then look at him, he runs wide again. So all of a sudden we're right back on the tail of Criscitianto, and this is really bad for us because it's allowing Michael Hingle in 9th to pull away Criscitianto out onto the grass, so we've got the space to move up the inside, but we can't get the car stopped out onto the grass ourselves. Criscitianto unlaps himself yet again, and look, now he's going into the pits after all that. So yeah, maybe not the best blue flag etiquette on show in this race so far. Let's go back and check out the replay. This is Ruslan Kowaluk trying to unlap himself against Dan Brandholm. Poor old Dan there. I feel really sorry for him. He's punted out of 9th position. Then a couple of corners later, Berto Criscitianto also unlaps himself at the inside, and then I get drawn into a battle with Criscitianto, which is the last thing I wanted because it lost me valuable ground on the cars that I was fighting with ahead. There's Criscitianto going out into the grass. I move up the inside, but I'm offline then, and I go off track myself. It was really messy. Start at lap 10 now, and there's another spin at T1, but it's not going to be a freebie this time. It's a back marker. We managed to get around him safely, and if you look in front, you'll see that Hingle in 9th also got it wrong coming out of that chicane, so that has helped us close the gap just a little bit. It's 1.5 seconds now to Hingle in 9th. There's still a dry line on the track, however it is starting to look gloomy again. There's no sign of the sun anymore, so I think we need to push now while the track is dry to try and close this gap on Hingle. We're just past the halfway point in the race. There's still nearly 9 minutes left, but as we throw it into this corner, we're just a little bit too greedy. The rear steps out. We've got to get onto the grass to try and rejoin, but we're not going to rejoin in time. Victor Loreda has gone through, Ben Geider has gone through, and I think we're going to lose another position. Oh no, we're not. That's another back marker. That's Mikhail Shammer. So that mistake has cost me 2 positions. I've dropped from 10th to 12th. I thought it was worth the risk to try and catch that car in front, but there wasn't as much grip as I thought there was. We lost the rear, but now look at Shammer, the lap driver. He's getting right between Victor Loreda and Ben Geider. Now we've seen back markers cause chaos already, and there could be more because there's contact between the 2 drivers in front of me. Somehow they both stay on track, but we've closed right back in now. We're right on the tail of Victor Loreda. Here's a replay of the mistake. I decided to push to try and catch Michael Hengel in 9th, but I ended up pushing just a little bit too hard. Well, unfortunately for the final stages of the race, the rain returned. The track got far more slippery and I began to struggle. But speaking of struggling, there's a yellow flag in front. Victor Loreda is also struggling in the rain, and as we work our way around these final 2 corners, Loreda is actually going to go into the pits. Again, I'm guessing at this stage of the race he's just miscalculated his fuel, so he's going in for a top-up. But as he goes down pit lane, that gives us 1 position back. It promotes us to 11th. And with the rain still coming down, we're rejoining the live action with 2 laps to go. And for the first time this race, it's me being shown the blue flag. Now, we've seen what not to do when the blue flags come out in this race, so I'm not going to make the same mistake. I pull aside and let the race leader, Kurt Rockjaff, through. However, let's jump forward a lap to the start of the last lap, and another back marker, Eduardo Espanyol, isn't going to be quite as accommodating to the race leader. And as I arrive at turn 1, there's Rockjaff in a right angle with Espanyol, so that has clearly not gone well. And on the very last lap, the race leader has been taken out. Yeah, once again, it's the curse of the late braking in turn 1. It looks like Rockjaff has got it all sealed at this point, but watch Espanyol on the inside. He brakes too late, he gets on the grass and he T-bones Rockjaff. Now, thankfully for Kurt, he managed to rejoin without losing any position, so he's still going to win this race, but I bet that was a fright for him. Well, Rockjaff was soon on my tail again, and he's had a stressful last lap as Kurt, so I don't want to make this any more worrying for him. I'll just ease aside and let him get past safely. We're only 2 corners from home now. Rockjaff's going to win the race, and I'm going to bring it home in 11th. A really challenging race, this one. The conditions were absolutely appalling for the early stages, and they've started to get worse over these last few laps. I'm grateful to cross the finish line and see the checkered flag. Start from 23rd, finish 11th in the wet weather with no traction control. Yep, I'll take that, thank you very much. Here are the classified results. Another boost of 24 for the rating. That puts us up to 1,555, and a big safety rating boost as well. We're now over 6.0 with that. But the key to success here was certainly playing it safe in those tricky conditions. I only really made 1 mistake, that little spin in the left-hander when I was trying to chase 9th position. But other than that, I think I drove a pretty decent race here at Loch Drummond. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments, and if you enjoyed watching, please do leave a like. Remember, you can also check the description to this video to find out how you can follow me on Twitter and visit my website. Thank you ever so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Cheers.